I'm here with Dr. Karen Garza, Superintendent of Schools, to talk about the final wrap-up of the budget. Welcome.
Hello, Barbara. Happy to be here.
What were the highlights of the final budget that the school board passed?
The highlights would be that the increase, while we're growing by very fast numbers, we're growing very fast as a system. Over the last 5 years, about 15,000 students. Our budget is increasing this year by 1.6%, which is very nominal considering our growth. Our budget reflected a lot of cuts throughout the system, including 731 positions. So our budget will be $2.5 billion budget. And I know that sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But keeping in mind, as a system where we employ over 24,000 teachers, we will have over 187,000 students in our system next year. And by the year 2020, which is just about 6 years away, we'll be over 200,000 students. So we are very concerned about having the revenue, the resources to sustain that growth and continue to support the quality programs that we're known for here in Fairfax County Public Schools.
Right. So there were some major cost drivers as part of this budget.
Yes.
What were they?
The cost drivers were most of them outside of our control, including a requirement that we must contribute more for the retirement system for all of our employees. That was a very significant increase for us as a system, over $37 million. That will go up yet again in fiscal year 17, so just 2 short years away we will have another significant bump in what we're required to contribute. So that was significant. In addition to that growth, there's a cost to growth, obviously. And of course we've got to look at our compensation, our health. We've had some health care increases that were outside of our control. Our contract was up, we had to rebid. And as most people know, health care cost and inflation around health care is dramatic. So we had about $25 to $27 million increase in our health care as a system. Right. So moving forward, one other challenge we have as a system is making sure that we keep the best teachers in our classrooms and our best employees all throughout our system. So we know that we're losing ground there, and we're not as competitive as we should be. And we have analysis on our website. If people are interested, they can go online and look at our Citizens Guide for understanding FCPS's budget. And it does describe there some of the analysis around how we compare to comparable and surrounding school systems, particularly as it relates to teacher quality. And in some cases, unfortunately, some surrounding jurisdictions are, over $10,000 more than we are, and so that is makes it very difficult for us to keep, our teachers. Because it's very compelling, obviously. So this year we did fund, it was a priority for us to fund a step increase for our employees. Although we did not receive from the county the request that we had asked for, the increase that we had asked for. So we had to step back from that, and we were short anywhere from $12 to $17 million in that gap between revenue that we had available to us and the budget that we had proposed. Fortunately, we'll be getting a little bit more state aid than what we'd anticipated. So otherwise, without that gap would have been much, much larger. Right. So we were unable to fund the full step. So we are funding the step for our employees effective in November. So it's a delayed step.
Right, which is good news because we haven't had a step since 2012. And it's going to start first with the teachers and instructional assistants, and then phased in for other employees.
We felt it very important to contribute to the step, although we wish it were the full step effective in July 1. We were unable to do that. But it's important to our employees in terms of a long-term commitment, also helping as we look at comparisons to surrounding jurisdictions. It was important for us to fund the step. And so that's why we did that and chose to do that. Absolutely. Many surrounding jurisdictions have taken some similar steps in terms of employee compensation.
The school board added some new positions for in-school suspension support. Tell us about these and why these positions are so important.
This is a very important change, and we very much appreciate the school board supporting these new positions at our high schools. We are trying to look differently at how we manage student discipline. Most of our community understands that as the SR&R, the Students' Rights and Responsibilities document, which articulates our expectations for students, and where we have situations that students violate a rule or misbehave in some way, there are consequences that are outlined in that document. We established a committee of principals from across all levels. We shared a lot of data with them, and several things that we're trying to address, and that is to reduce disproportionality when it relates to our minority students and our Hispanic and African American students as compared to our other students, and how often the disciplinary actions more egregiously affect them. So that was one thing that we are trying to improve upon. In addition to that, we want to reduce the number of days that students miss school. And so in order for us to change those requirements and those rules, we need our high schools to have the resource that if a student misbehaves or violates one of our rules, we have to hold students accountable. But can we do that in a way that keeps them in school and prevents them from missing school through out-of-school suspension? So it's a new model that we're looking at behavior in the same way we look at educational intervention. We're looking at this as behavioral intervention. How can we use these resources, this new resource, as we move into this next school year, to provide a response to students that help, hold them accountable, but at the same time prevent those behaviors in the future.
Right.
So we're developing that program right now. We have a lot of good ideas. We have some wonderful models just right here in Fairfax County that we can use to replicate, and so I think it's going to make a very positive difference for our students.
Good. Now, moving forward, looking ahead, what do you see on the horizon for next year's budget and beyond?
Well, we continue to be challenged. Again, as resources remain flat for us, and we continue to grow. It's not a business model that we can sustain. We can continue to cut, and our programs will be affected. So we are stepping back and looking differently at, do we need to redesign ourselves? Do we maybe need to look at programs and services that we're currently offering and determine whether or not we need to stop with some of those? But we're really at a critical juncture moving forward because things have not changed. Conditions have not changed for us. We haven't stopped growing. We're continuing to grow, and so we've got to get more of our community involved and aware of these challenges. I think we did a good job in the 9 to 12 months that we had to better educate our community about these resource challenges, but the work's not yet done. And so I think we need to continue to educate and involve in a meaningful way our school community.
Right. So the budget process really is a year-round kind of process when you talk about educating our community. So we look forward to talking with you again in the fall as we kick off the next budget year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.